If you're after a small, affordable hot hatchback that's a load of fun but also easy to live with, should you get the new Hyundai i20N, a Ford Fiesta ST, or a Volkswagen Polo GTI? Well, to find out which of these cars is best, I'm going to compare their exteriors, their interiors, see how practical they are, take them for a hoon on a twisty road. I'm going to launch them and time them from 0 to 60 miles an hour and see how strong their brakes are. Now, if you like these kind of videos, please make sure you subscribe to this channel and hit the bell icon to turn your notifications on. That way you won't miss a single upload. Anyway, I'm Matt Watson and you're watching CarWow. Let's start this video by comparing these cars' engines. Now I'm going to kick off with the Polo. It has a 2-litre 4-cylinder turbocharged petrol engine, 200 horsepower and 320 newton meters of torque. Let's have a listen to it. Go on, start the Polo. Give it some revs. Okay, that's enough of that. Cut it, cut it. Right, let's move on to the Fiesta. 1.5 litre 3-cylinder turbo. That puts out 200 horsepower and 290 newton meters of torque. So let's hear the Fiesta. All right, that's enough. Cut it, cut it. Finally then, the Hyundai. So it has a 1.6 litre 4-cylinder turbo petrol, 204 horsepower and 275 newton meters of torque. So let's have a listen to this. Well, that's enough of that. Now, which do you think sounded the best? So check out the pinned comment. We've put 3 choices, obviously each car. Vote which one you think sounded the best. A little later on in this video, I'm going to launch the cars to see how quick they are from 0 to 60. Make sure you hang around for that. Before then though, let's compare their design, starting with their side profiles. So the Polo, which looks like a normal Polo really, but you can spot the GTI badging, the subtle side skirts and the upgraded alloy wheels. And this one's on the optional 18s. Starts with 17s as standard. Moving to the Fiesta, so this is the only car here you can get as a 3-door, all the others are just 5 doors only. And the 3-door body does look more sporty, but if you need extra practicality, just get the 5-door model. This is the Edition model, so it's the range-topping version. It has upgraded suspension. It's even lower to the ground than the standard Fiesta ST, which is lower than a normal Fiesta. And it does have, you know, side skirts and these upgraded wheels as well, 18 inches, really nice. I like those wheels. Coming finally though to the i20N. This is the one that really stands out for me because it's just really in your face, quite obviously a hot hatchback. Look at the size of these side skirts with the red piping. Also like the 2-tone paint scheme, and I love Hyundai's blue paint. This one looks the best from the side, if you ask me. Here at the back, it's a similar story. The Polo and the Fiesta have the necessary hot hatch accoutrements. They've got roof spoilers, they've got twin exhaust pipes, they've got deeper rear bumpers. All good. But then you come to the Hyundai and it's just like really in your face. It hasn't got a roof spoiler, it's got an actual wing. It's got this huge fake diffuser, there's flashes of red. The biggest exhaust pipe I've ever seen on any small hot hatch. It's not shy, is it? Overall then, in terms of their looks, I think the Polo is sporty, yet sophisticated. The Fiesta is fun and friendly, and the Hyundai's sort of going, hey, look at me, I'm new, look at me, look at me, I'm new. Yeah, it's a bit showy, isn't it? Now let's compare these cars' brakes, starting with the Fiesta. So it has 2 7/8mm discs at the front, 252 at the back. And it's actually the smallest brakes out of these 3 cars, but let's see what the performance is like. Okay, we're going to have a brake test now from 60 miles an hour. See how quickly this can stop. Here comes the braking zone. Let's do it, let's do it, let's do it, let's do it. What did it do? 34 meters. It's all right. Moving on to the Polo. So it has 310mm discs at the front and 272mm discs at the rear. So the rear brakes on this are almost the same size as the front brakes on the Fiesta. Let's test them out. When I reach the line, full emergency stop. Here we go, let's brake now. Those brakes feel really strong. What we got, what we got, what we got? Ooh, 32 meters to stop from 60. Last up, the Hyundai. It has 320mm discs up front and 262mm at the back. Let's do it. Brake test. Oh, it moves around under braking, this thing. But what did we do? Oh, wow, 31 metres. The brakes are super strong in this, very impressive. Now let's move on to the car's interiors, starting with this Fiesta ST. So the seating position is brilliant. And these seats, which you get on the ST3 and this range topping edition, are absolutely epic. I love them. They're comfy and very supportive. Things that I don't like so much, interior quality is a bit sketchy in places. I mean, look at that, it's a bit flimsy, isn't it? Also, the steering wheel's a little bit on the large side, and I don't like the feel of the leather on it much either. The overall cabin is starting to feel its age now because this car's getting on a bit. For instance, you only have like partially digital dials. Then there's the price. So it seems quite cheap. Entry-level price for the Fiesta ST is £22,000. Big thumbs up. However, if you want some decent kit, these nice seats and that limited slip diff, you're going to have to step up to pay 25 grand for the ST3 model. And this edition, with all the bells and whistles, £27,000. Quite a lot, isn't it, for a Ford Fiesta? Moving on to the Hyundai, and it just feels a little bit more modern than the Ford, mainly because you've got bigger screens and full digital dials. Now the thing I really like about this car, and it's the way you can configure lots of the different settings, such as your steering, your exhaust sound, your rev matching, your stability control, between 3 different settings. It's nuts, and then you can access them quickly by these buttons on the steering wheel. Reminds me of my BMW M3 with their N mode buttons. That's really cool. In fact, when you put it into N mode, the dials change and you have fire going round the rev counter. it's quite nice, I like that. I also like the seats, they're lovely. They're not quite as lovely as those in that Fiesta, but they're very supportive, comfy, and the driving position, as with the Fiesta, is good. But also like the Fiesta, bits do feel cheap. A little bit on the cheap side down there. In terms of the pricing, this car is ever so slightly more expensive like for like than the Fiesta, but it's fully loaded. You don't have to mess around with different levels or options or anything like that. You get everything like heated seats and all that kind of stuff as standard. Simple. Finally then, we come to the Polo, and it is the nicest car on the inside. Just the design of it is just cooler. It also feels the most expensive in terms of the material quality. I love the look of these tartan seats, that they don't feel quite as comfy as those in the other 2 cars, and they don't hold you in quite as good a position when you're going quickly. But the seating position is fine. Love the steering wheel, it's the nicest steering wheel. Has the most expensive feeling leather, and that's important, and I like the design of it as well. Let's do a quick centre console test. Wobbles a little bit, but not as much as in the other cars. Solid. Now the starting price of the Polo is £24,500, but you need the Plus version to get the larger screen and the digital dials, and you want those because they look really nice. If you want to match the spec for the Hyundai, you're going to have to spend some on options for things like reversing cameras, and you're getting on for £27,000, so it seems more expensive, though of course you have got an automatic gearbox as standard. Each of these hot hatches has load stiffened suspension over the cars on which they're based. Interestingly, what's that noise? It's like there's some creature being murdered in the background. Anyway, please ignore that. So, the Polo has adaptive dampers as standard. It also gets a 6-speed automatic gearbox. You can't get it with the manual. These are the 2 cars, manual only. Now, one thing that's a bit annoying about the Polo, you can't get it with a limited slip differential like you can the Fiesta. It doesn't come as standard, but you have to pay extra for the performance pack, then you get it. However, this edition version does get the limited slip diff as standard. It also gets uprated coilover suspension as well. Finally, the Hyundai, it just gets everything as standard. Uprated suspension, you get limited slip diff. It also has been stiffened in 12 places throughout its body to make it more agile and responsive than the standard i20. It's got stiffer steering knuckles and a stiffened rear torsion beam as well. Anyway, let's drive them. I'm going to start off with the Fiesta. I think it's finally died. Maybe not. Let's see what this little Fiesta ST is like to drive. The first thing you notice is the steering. This car turns in really quickly. You just turn the wheel a bit and it's like darting into a corner, and it can feel a little bit kind of skittish at times. Once you're used to that though, it does make the car just feel alert and agile. And this is an agile car. You can really feel what's going on beneath you, and it responds to exactly what you do. So if you barrel into a corner and accelerate and then you like lift off, the rear axles start to come loose and the car will rotate on you, and you really feel like you're at the center of the car, so it actually rotates around your body, which is such a lovely feeling. The gear shift is pretty good. The brakes, they can feel just a little bit over assisted, so when you first touch them, the car's braking a little bit harder than you like, but after that there's plenty of feel to the brake pedal. I have noticed though that when I've driven this car on track before, it runs out of brakes, they overheat quite soon, which is a bit annoying. The suspension could be annoying if you're doing long commutes in this, because it is quite firm, and over bumps it does bobble you about a bit. But actually it's fine for a hot hatch, and it makes this car feel like it's got some get up and go. This 3-cylinder engine is good. It's strong in the mid-range, and it keeps pulling all the way to the red line. I remember when Ford announced that they're going to do a 3-cylinder engine after having the 4-cylinder previous version of the S10. I was like, what are they doing? But actually, it's a really, really good little engine, this. Really good. Strong, even low down, not much turbo lag, and fun, fizzy, just what you want. Gear change is pretty decent as well. Short throw, snickety feel to it. Is snickety even a word? Doesn't matter, it applies to this car. If you are the kind of person that likes to just go out driving for the sheer heck of it, you'll like the Fiesta ST. If you want something with a bit of like straight line performance, some looks, and easy to live with every day, this is not necessarily the car for you. It likes to be driven, this thing. It really does. The more you drive this, the more you think, really, do you need anything more powerful? Bigger, more powerful cars aren't actually more fun than this on the road. It really is a great little hot hatch. It's not perfect, but it is really, really, really very good. Okay, now I've jumped into the Polo GTI. Oh yeah. You can rev this engine out, then it changes up itself automatically. Yes, this may be an automatic car and you can put it in manual mode, but it will always change up when you get towards the top of its rev range. So you can't ping it off the limiter if you wanted to. But I guess that's not what the Polo GTI is about. It's about getting you from A to B in a comfy, nice specified car that looks good, looks expensive, but can hoon if you want it to. So let's try it for the hoonage. And do you know what? It's nicely done, this thing. It really is. You chuck it into a corner and it goes round, it grips nicely, and it's just confidence inspiring, it's easy. It doesn't have the drama of that Fiesta ST. You don't feel quite as like tuned into the car, but for just getting you across ground quickly and effortlessly, this thing does all that you need it to, and it's blooming fast. You look down, you go, oh my God, it is fast, this thing. And the steering, it's not got loads of feel, but it's precise. I prefer it to the Fiestas in some ways because it feels more natural. It's not as darty, but it's just easier to get along with, I think, for most people. And when you're just driving along normally, it's less flighty. The brakes are also a little bit more progressive than on the Fiestas, so it's easier to judge your braking, I think. The strong brakes these are. The thing about it is that I can whack it into normal mode, and the adaptive dampers, which are standard, slacken off, and then it's just quite chilled. Then you can enjoy the benefit of the automatic gearbox. When you're pootling around town or on the motorway, it's just easier to live with. It just changes gears for you. And you might be thinking, do you know what? I want to just be fun all the time, on it all the time. This Polo's not going to be for you. But if you want an everyday car that's easy to live with, looks nice, is fun to drive when you want it to be, but also quite relaxing when you also want it to be that, this does it all. It is a great all-rounder, this. It really is like a baby Golf GTI in that respect. It can be all things to all people. Well, almost all things to all people. Okay, let's see what this i20N is like to drive. Now, the first thing you notice is the suspension is pretty firm. It's firmer than the Fiestas, though it's not terrible. You do get jiggled about a bit, but as you go quicker, it smooths out, and it's not awful. It feels quite sophisticated, really. If you're the kind of person that wants to do track days and you want a small hot hatch, this is the car you want, without a shadow of a doubt. It just feels so hooked up. It's really quick, it's really good fun. Brakes are great, they feel really strong, nice feel to them as well. I'm really impressed with what Hyundai's done with this car. That front end is epic. There is one thing you do notice, sometimes when you're accelerating hard and the road surface isn't even, you can feel the steering wheel squirm in your hands a bit, get a bit of torque steer as the dish trying to put down its power. This is epic, this car. It really is. One thing that's not great is perhaps the engine. It's good, but it's not brilliant. So it doesn't really pull as hard as a Fiesta's to the red line. So after about 5.5, it's just making a bit of a noise and running out of puff. Another thing is it does this weird blip when you upshift. Blipping on the downshift is fine, but watch this. Accelerating in third, changing up now. I lift off the throttle and it's like some ghost pressed the throttle and blipped it. I don't know what that's all about. Great car, great chassis, great brakes, decent engine, but not brilliant. I think I prefer the Fiesta's engine, but everything else about this I like. Look, he did it again. What's that all about? In a moment, I'm going to launch these cars to compare their 0 to 60 times. But before I do, let's talk about practicality. So this Hyundai is the only car with an adjustable boot floor. which is quite useful. Also, it has the biggest boot. The capacity is 352 litres. That of the Polo, it's not far behind, 351 litres, but the Fiesta has the smallest boot at 292 litres. It's also the smallest in the back seats. I tested all these cars, roominess, in the rear with our tallest member of staff. He measures over 6 foot, 2 inches tall. Found the back of the Fiesta really cramped. Now, I know it's a 3-door version, but the 5-door isn't really any better. It's no longer, it just has a bit more rear headroom. Next up was this Hyundai. Actually quite spacious in the back, but not quite as spacious or as comfortable as the Polo. Anyway, that's enough of that. Let's launch the cars. Right, now I'm going to launch the Polo. I'm supposed to do 0 to 60 in 6.5 seconds. Got an automatic gearbox, launch control. Let's do it. It's spinning up its wheels a bit. Come on, hook. Lots of wheel spin. But does the business. Despite spinning up its wheels, still does 0 to 60 in 6.15 seconds. That's quick. This Fiesta is supposed to do 0 to 60 in 6.5 seconds, but what does the specialist timing gear say? Let's find out. Holds the revs and I can just go. Oh, bit of a skippy skip on the gear change. What we got? 7.16, that's rubbish. We can do better than that. Right, here we go again. Let's see if I can get a better time. Got the ESC now in sport. I'll hold on the handbrake and do it. Oh, I smell a lot of clutch as well. Okay, side step, launch control. Let's just do it. That was the best one yet. Oh yeah, 6.45. Woohoo! The launch control works. Good gear change there. Blimey, I held onto the gears and I got a 6-second dead. Wicked! So then what's my final verdict? Well, each of these cars takes a slightly different approach. That's the most sensible, this is the most playful, and that is the most focused. So it all depends on what you want. But what do I want? Well, do you know what? I think I want focused. This thing to me is like a little touring car for the road. It just feels a little bit more special than the other two. And that's why it wins this test.